Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. We have another great show for you, direct from the Grand Hotel in Stockholm, Sweden. And what do we have on the docket today? First, we have the Bryan Kohberger sentencing tomorrow. The big question is, will he speak? Will our questions be answered? A wife killer confesses in Texas. We have another very disturbing case in Texas. We've got this day of legal history, our quote of the day regarding human nature, and our dumb criminal. Let's talk about it.
All right, lawyer.
Good day, everyone. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. You know the drill. Subscribe if you haven't, like if you do, leave me a comment below, and hit that little bell for notifications. And yes, you can check us out anytime on any of your favorite podcasting apps. Now, before we get to the docket, let me remind you to go to crimetalksearch.com, or you can sign up for a background subscription service today. Now, you may say, Scott, what do I need a background subscription service for? Well, when you sign up, you can do a background search on anyone you desire in the United States. I know you probably wish you could do it here in Stockholm, Sweden as well, but it's just the United States. And you are going to get a plethora of information about the person that you are searching. For example, you're going to find out how many email addresses they have. And you say, well, Scott, what do I care how many email addresses they have? Well, if your spouse or your significant other has a bunch of emails that you don't know about, it's probably for those dating sites that he signed up for and he doesn't want you to know about. You're going to find out about phone numbers associated with that person. Does he have a burner phone? Perhaps. Or she? Perhaps. You're going to find out their social media presence. Why do they have all these other sites that you don't know about? Is that so he can post pictures with the other girlfriend? And yes, you're going to find out if somebody has a criminal history. Are they on a sex offender registry? Are they married? Are they divorced? Have they filed for bankruptcy? Everything you want to know about somebody that maybe they're not telling you. So go to crimetalksearch.com, sign up today. You're going to be happy you did. And remember, whether you do one search or 1,000, you can cancel at any time. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, we are in week 2 of the family reunion for the lovely Miss Kristen in Sweden. Now, we spent the last couple days with her amazing family, and I mean amazing. I don't think I've ever seen such hospitality by anyone. They were so generous, so caring, just made us all absolutely feel at home. It was amazing. Then we took a little 4-hour drive today up to Stockholm. We'll be here for a couple of days, and then we'll be back in the Crime Talk studios next week as well. So let's go ahead and open the record for Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025. And first on the docket, that's right, Bryan Kohberger. You know, for those who don't know or aren't familiar with the Bryan Kohberger case, and let me tell you, there are people, I've met people here in Sweden that are not familiar with the case. Well, he faces sentencing starting tomorrow. Now, remember, he is legally and factually guilty of 4 brutal murders of 4 University of Idaho students. And like I said, that sentencing is scheduled to begin tomorrow in Boise, Idaho. Now, having pled guilty to the 2022 killings, Kohberger will come face to face with some of the victims' families who will be able to deliver what they refer to as a victim impact statement. Now, Mr. Kohberger, Bryan Kohberger, has the opportunity to address the court before the judge imposes his sentence. He is not required to speak, but he is always given the last word. It is called a statement in allocution. He can say whatever he wants. He could apologize for the pain that he has brought. He could explain what he did and why he did it, if he chooses to do so, or he could remain silent. It's not going to affect anything, and we'll have to wait and see. Now, normally during the sentencing hearing, either the prosecution will go first and present their sentencing statements. Then the defense will have an opportunity to say, hey, our guy's pled guilty, but guess what? He's still not a bad guy. Now, let's face it, we're not really focusing on rehabilitation here. Now, are we? No, we're not. Okay, so that's where things stand. And then the judge will ultimately impose the sentence that everybody knows he's going to get. So whether the prosecution and their witnesses speak for 10 minutes or 10 hours and Kohberger says something or his attorney say something or nothing at all, doesn't matter. He's still going to get 4 consecutive life sentences with the additional 10 years for the burglary. All right. So like I said, for people who don't know what's going on with this case, Kohberger is a former criminology PhD student, and he'll never get his degree, at least not from, I could imagine, the Washington State University. Anyway, he admitted, for all the people out there who say he is innocent, and boy, do we get a lot of people in those comments. No, he is not innocent. He has pled guilty, ladies and gentlemen. He has confessed to the elements of the crime. Like I stated, he is legally and factually guilty. And let's face it, you don't plead guilty to 4 consecutive life sentences unless you think the evidence that so far has been shielded from the public, that you think you're going to get the death penalty, hence the reason why you ultimately pled guilty, to avoid that particular sentence. So for all the people out there, they're saying, oh no, Bryan Kohberger, he's innocent. His attorneys made him do it. No. Go back and watch the video that we have up. Bryan Kohberger went through the colloquy with the judge. He's under oath. The judge has him admit to each and every element of the offense of each charge so that there is no doubt. Because let's face it, nobody wants an innocent man to be convicted. And they certainly don't want somebody to plead guilty to a crime they didn't do. And as a criminal defense attorney for 3 decades, I can tell you, you're not going to get somebody guilty to 4 consecutive life sentences if they're innocent. The attorney simply is not going to do that. So I digress. But like I said, Bryan Kohberger pled guilty to those 4 first-degree murders for the deaths of Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Kernodle's boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, who were all stabbed to death in their off-campus Moscow, Idaho home back on November 13th of 2022. Now, this horrific crime shocked the small college town, and obviously has gripped the nation, I would say even the world. Now, arrested 7 weeks later at his parents' Pennsylvania home, Kohberger initially maintained his innocence before, like I said, he pled guilty on July 2nd, 2025. And securing that plea deal removed the death penalty. Now, he still faces and is going to get, it is no doubt, 4 consecutive life sentences for the murders and then up to 10 years for the burglary, which he will get. Not that he will actually ever serve that, because he's never going to serve more than 1 life sentence. Now, the sentencing, which could go Wednesday and Thursday, the court has set aside 2 days. This allows for the victims' families to confront Kohberger directly with victim impact statements. Now, the Gonzalez family is openly critical of the plea deal and will likely speak, while Ethan Chapin's parents have indicated that they may not even attend. The 2 surviving roommates, including one who saw a masked man the night of the murders, may also choose to speak and have a statement read on their behalf or opt out entirely if they choose to do so. The Moscow police, friends, and community members are expected in court seeking closure for this devastating crime. Now, like I said, the big question is, will Bryan Kohberger speak? He's undeniably guilty, like I said, as a matter of law and as a matter of fact. And from here on out, he will forever be guilty of that. But he will be given a chance to address the court before the judge imposes his quadruple life sentences. Now, what is the incentive for Bryan Kohberger to speak? The sentence is fixed, and the criminal justice system is not going to say, wow, if he really makes a good sentencing statement, maybe he'll get out someday because we're really focused on rehabilitation here. No, this case is all about punishment. So I would say there is less than a 50% chance that Kohberger speaks, and probably a 0% chance his words would bring any comfort to anyone. Maybe he says something, maybe he won't. Maybe he'll say he's sorry for the pain that he's caused his parents. Maybe he'll say he's sorry for all the pain that he's caused everybody. But my guess is he's going to say nothing. Now, Kohberger's brief, emotionless responses in court, attributed by his defense to his autism spectrum disorder, marked the first public hearing of his voice in years, and his attorneys will remain silent until the sentencing concludes. we'll have to see how that goes. I think they're going to be very brief as well. All right. Now, despite his guilty pleas, Kohberger has not disclosed the motive, nor is he legally obligated to do so. Now, President Trump, commenting on social media, urged the judge to demand an explanation, criticizing the plea deal. However, understand that a motive may never truly emerge, as real-life cases rarely resolve neatly. And police plan to release additional case details, including evidence and witness statements post-sentencing, but a clear motive remains unlikely. So what's next? Once Kohberger is sentenced, he will enter into custody of the Idaho Department of Corrections for evaluation and prison placement. The hearing marks a pivotal moment for the victim's family and the Moscow community to begin healing from this entire situation. Now, remember, we'll bring it to you live tomorrow, so you can watch it here on Crime Talk. I intend to be here live from Stockholm, Sweden, live to see what transpires as well, and we'll give you our assessment of that as well. I don't think he says a word. Let me know in the comments what you think. Next, a troubling case in Texas. So a case down in Kingsville, Texas, where a 45-year-old man by the name of Jerry Lee Martinez was arrested following the discovery of a newborn in a Walmart bathroom trash can. The incident has revealed a series of grave allegations involving sexual abuse and violence within the family. So on July 14th, Kingsville police responded to a call at approximately 10:30 p.m. after a maintenance worker found a newborn while emptying the garbage in a Walmart bathroom. Now, security footage revealed that a 17-year-old girl had actually entered the bathroom, remained there for approximately 40 minutes, and then left the store, entering a vehicle in the parking lot. Police tracked the vehicle and conducted a traffic stop, after which the teenager was taken to a hospital for medical attention. And during the investigation, the girl disclosed to police that Martinez, her father, was the father of the child. She alleged that Martinez began sexually assaulting her when she was 15, with the abuse continuing over the last 2 years. This is all detailed in an arrest affidavit. She further claimed that upon learning of her pregnancy, Martinez physically assaulted her, striking her stomach on multiple occasions. Gee, I wonder what he was trying to do. Now, according to the teenager, Martinez took her to Mexico earlier on July 14th to obtain an abortion. Later that day, she gave birth to a stillborn child in the Walmart bathroom. Now, the Walmart employees attempted to perform life-saving measures on the infant, who was then rushed to a nearby hospital, what was pronounced deceased. Now, Martinez now faces charges of sexual assault on a child, abandoning or endangering a child with criminal negligence, tampering with a witness, and tampering with physical evidence. And he is currently held at the Clayburgh County Jail on a $600,000 bond, with prosecutors indicating additional charges are forthcoming. Oh, I bet they are. Now, the teenager is not in custody and has been placed in a secure location for her safety. Now, obviously, this case is got to get some significant attention, underscoring the need for some proper support and intervention situations involving sexual abuse. These cases are terrible, ladies and gentlemen. I can tell you, I've handled several of these where a child has resulted. Terrible, terrible situation. The young woman is usually young child is usually quite traumatized, and it is just a gross situation all around. That's a very legal term. It's a term of art. It's called gross, is what it is. But I've done them. I've done them where, heck, I had a guy once. He and his daughter had a child, and they held themselves out as husband and wife, if you can believe that. But the daughter was so traumatized. Oh, did I tell you that the child passed away? She was charged with murder. The daughter was so traumatized, she almost refused, didn't want to testify against her father. So we got a smoking good deal. I know that sounds terrible, but that's what lawyers are supposed to do sometimes, even when, well, it's gross. Next on the docket, a wife killer in Texas. Buckle up, folks, because Charles Bird, a 49-year-old Texas man, took the phrase, "go big or go home," to a whole new level of macabre. That's right. Allegedly, this first-time offender decided to kick off his criminal career with a bang by confessing to killing his wife, Angela Bird, and then turning their home into a month-long hideout for her decomposing body. Talk about a debut that leaves an impression. Anyway, the Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar spilled the chilling news during a press conference after Bird's arrest on Sunday, following a family member's tip that sent deputies on a one-day manhunt. They found Angela wrapped in plastic like last week's leftovers inside the couple's home, where Bird reportedly played house while the grim scene unfolded. Now, in a moment that had investigators' jaws on the floor, Bird allegedly quipped to them, go big or go home, as if he were auditioning for a true crime sitcom. Salazar called it pretty disturbing, and honestly, we're with him. That's not the kind of one-liner you drop on a murder scene. Now, Bird didn't stop at shocking the police. No, after being nabbed at a vacant house a mile away, he doubled down, spilling his regrets to a local reporter with a tearful, "I'm sorry, I loved my wife," blaming it all on a mental break. Sure, Charles, nothing screams "I love you" like a month-long cover-up. Anyway, the man has been cooperative, at least dishing out details about the violent June 16th incident and admitting he knew the jig was eventually up. But for now, he's cooling his heels in the Bexar County Jail, facing charges for tampering with evidence involving a human corpse, because apparently that's just the appetizer. Murder charges are looming, pending the medical examiner's ruling on Angela's cause of death. And if it is confirmed that it was in fact a homicide, the legal definition of a death caused by another, Bird's go big philosophy might land him in the slammer for a good long time. Now, while he's getting a mental health evaluation, one thing's clear: this Texas tale is a wild, grim ride that proves some folks take idioms way too literally. Next on the docket, this day in legal history, on July 22nd, 1796, in the case of Hilton versus the United States, the court issued its ruling. One of the earliest examples of judicial review, the court upheld a federal tax on carriages, ruling it was not a direct tax requiring apportionment among the states, precedent for federal taxation powers. On this date in 1862, guess what? President Abraham Lincoln signed the Confiscation Act. It was actually on July 17th, but it was announced and implemented on July 22nd, allowing the seizure of property from Confederate supporters and freeing enslaved people in rebel territories, a precursor to the Emancipation Proclamation. And this was a significant legal step in the Civil War era. On July 22nd, 1942, a federal district court in California upheld the constitutionality of curfew orders for Japanese Americans under Executive Order 9066, a precursor to the United States Supreme Court case of Hirabashi versus United States, obviously reflecting and giving the okay to wartime legal policies. July 22nd, 1950, William H. Hastie receives the commission to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. He was formerly commissioned to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit, becoming the first Black federal appellate judge. And yes, on July 2nd, 1991, serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer was arrested in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, after police discovered human remains in his apartment. His case, culminating in a 1992 conviction, obviously drew national attention to the issue of his criminal profiling and mental health in the justice system. Oh, and not to mention, he ultimately later got shivved while in custody. That man wasn't wired right, was not wired right, and everyone around him knew it. There's always signs, ladies and gentlemen. How about our legal quote of the day? Man is the only animal that kills for reasons other than survival. Driven by passion, jealousy, rage, or control, that twist love into a weapon. When a man kills his wife, it's often the shadow of his own insecurities, cloaked in the delusion of possession. That's a quote from the some domestic violence pattern papers that came out regarding the insights of human behavior and domestic violence. Pretty interesting, I think. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And then finally today, our dumb criminal of the day. Hold on, folks, because Louisiana's Marcus Gilroy just snagged the coveted Dumb Criminal of the Day award with a performance so clueless it deserves its own sitcom. On July 18th, the genius dialed up the police to complain about a woman named Aretha, who wouldn't vacate his West Monroe pad. Worried she might still be lurking, he begged officers to sweep his home and clear the residence. Pro tip, Marcus, maybe check your bedroom before inviting law enforcement over for a quick tour. Instead of finding Aretha, what did the police come across? A trio of child-sized sex dolls chilling in Gilroy's bedroom like the world's creepiest slumber party. Picture this, dolls lying on or near the bed, probably wondering why they didn't get an invite to the Aretha drama. Naturally, the police thought this calls for a warrant. Lo and behold, a deeper search uncovered 3 anatomically correct dolls, 1 representing an infant, 2 mimicking kids under 13. Gross. When questioned, Gilroy didn't own up to buying these online oddities. He proudly confessed to getting to know them multiple times and even admitting to piercing their nipples. Because nothing says I'm totally normal like customizing your creepy doll collection. To top it off, police found some weed and some drug paraphernalia because why not add a little extra spice to this felony stew? Charged with possessing, trafficking, or importing child dolls, a felony, in case you were wondering, plus drug-related counts, Gilroy is now cooling his heels in the parish jail awaiting a district court court appearance. Now, with a rap sheet boasting theft, battery, forgery, and narcotics possession, you'd think he'd know better than to roll out the red carpet for the police. But no, that's why he's a dumb criminal. Marcus invited them in like he was hosting a barbecue, for God's sakes. Congrats, Marcus Gilroy, for proving that when it comes to dumb criminal moves, you're playing in a league all of your own. Maybe next time, skip the 911 call and just check under the bed yourself for Aretha. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have for today. Hope you enjoyed the show. Join us tomorrow for the Kohberger sentencing, and we will do our best to have a show for you as well. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. And remember, the Constitution matters.